Welcome back to The Emily Show. We have a lot to talk about, and mostly it's stuff I've been getting asked about a ton, so that it was easy for me to decide what to cover this week. Because today we need to talk about something that is very dear to my heart, and I wanted to do a whole episode about music, but I didn't realize it would evolve the way that it did. But yes, the FTC has finally sued Ticketmaster, and some of the allegations I find very interesting as someone who likes to buy concert tickets and regularly tries to hex Ticketmaster so it will stop fighting with me. I cannot voice strongly enough how much I dislike Ticketmaster, which is why most of the times when they get sued, I'm like, hey guys, we're covering another Ticketmaster lawsuit, because some of the things we have seen referenced in other lawsuits are being brought forward in this fairly substantial lawsuit. And I'm going to give you the overview of it. We can dive deeper into it as the suit goes forward. This is going to take a couple of years, but I'm glad that the FTC is also getting involved. Some of these allegations, man, I'm interested to see what happens. And then I didn't expect the music episode to take a pretty dark turn, but I have been asked a ton about what is going on with the David case. If you have no idea who the singer, streamer, Fortnite player David spelled D4vd is, don't worry, I'm going to give you a background on the case because you've probably heard about this case. As of the recording of this, there haven't been any arrests. There is an ongoing investigation. I don't normally cover cases prior to an arrest, but I have been asked so much about this case and what's happening, where we go from here, what comes next, that I thought maybe an overview of the background of the case that we know from official sources up to now, and then what an ongoing investigation like this looks like prior to an arrest if one does come down the road. So I thought that would be helpful to break down. So we will be talking about it. And then there is more information in the Karen Read civil case, and that's getting ready for a hearing that I will be covering this week as this episode comes out. So we will be taking a look at briefly what's going on in the Karen Read civil case and a little more fallout from that case for Officer Dever, don't say Deaver. So we've got a lot to talk about. So we should get into it. I'm legal analyst Emily D. Baker, yes, also a lawyer, and this is The Emily Show. I break down the pop culture, entertainment, and high-profile cases that we're all talking about. I know you want the facts, so let's get into it. So for those of you new to the podcast, remember, there are timestamps down below so you can always skip to the topics that you want to see most. And if you want to make sure that you are caught up between both the Emily Show channel and the live stream channel, the Lawnerd app will make sure that you always know when something's going on, because we are going to be covering live court and then court on a bit of a rewatch that, was live at one point for the next few weeks. And we are going to start talking about the Brian Walsh case. So if you're interested in all of that, make sure you get the Lawnerd app, and I'm sure there's going to be more going on with Donna Adelson, so we'll be covering that too. We will. We're not going to let it just pass us by. Let's talk about Ticketmaster. Look, I am a huge fan of live music. Go to live music. I hate that when Live Nation and Ticketmaster merged, venues can't even choose to have somebody other than Ticketmaster. Like the way it has truly monopolized ticket selling for anyone who tries to buy tickets is really uncomfortable. And it goes venue by venue. So even if an artist is like, hey, we don't want to use Ticketmaster, it's like, well, if you're playing this venue, too bad. And I get where musicians are then torn. It's like, do you not get out with live music to your fans because you have to deal with Ticketmaster? It really has become a difficult and untenable situation. And then when you get to the resale of it, I just can't even. But the allegations in this latest lawsuit that was just filed September 18th from the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC plus 7 different states, almost a 7-nation army, if you will, are suing Live Nation and Ticketmaster in California federal court because they are alleging not only are there undisclosed fees, have any of you ever felt that way when you're buying tickets through Ticketmaster, but they're also alleging that Ticketmaster is helping brokers buy and resell millions of dollars worth of tickets. So you know how Ticketmaster is always like, no, we make sure that These, programs can't just go through and sweep up all the tickets and then resell them to you. This lawsuit alleges that they are lies, and that actually, according to this lawsuit, and again, these are just allegations, but the allegations in this lawsuit are that Ticketmaster is actually making it easier for ticket brokers to buy the tickets and resell them. Why would Ticketmaster do that? Well, Ticketmaster charges fees on the original sale. And then what do? Well, if you resell them, you have to resell them through Ticketmaster's platform. And then what do? They charge fees on both sides of the resale transaction. There are times when you get in line and you go in to get access to tickets and everything's gone except whatever the premium platinum level ticket is. Everything else is already on resale. How is it on resale? Like 15 seconds after everything goes on sale. Because allegedly, Ticketmaster is not protecting ticket brokers from using the sites and accessing the sites. It's perhaps assisting. So let's take a look at this breakdown real quick. When we take a look at this lawsuit, we see the FTC leading this litigation in the district court. It is the FTC with Colorado, Florida, Illinois, Nebraska, Tennessee, and Utah, and the Commonwealth of Virginia suing Live Nation Entertainment and Ticketmaster. So those are the states that are involved in this lawsuit. It doesn't mean that other states and regulators won't jump in with that. It can still happen. This is in addition to California is suing on other things. The Taylor Swift fans have their own class action lawsuit. There are numerous other lawsuits that are ongoing and continuing, but this is the lawsuit against Ticketmaster. We can do a deep dive into this lawsuit, but today we are going to summarize some of the more shocking allegations because there is much to talk about today. So when we are taking a look at a breakdown of this lawsuit, one of the things that I found really interesting was that the case alleges that Live Nation allows ticket brokers to evade security measures and ticket limits by creating thousands of Ticketmaster's accounts using proxy IP addresses, and Ticketmaster allows the brokers to resell the tickets on its secondary platform with a markup where it collects another set of fees for the transaction. Quote, artists request and rely on these ticket limits to give ordinary fans the opportunity to purchase tickets for their events at affordable prices, the complaint says. Quote, defendants' knowing participation in ticket brokers' unlawful conduct serves only to line defendants' own pockets at the expense of fans and artists. Live Nation maintains publicly that its business model is at odds with brokers who exceed ticket limits, but enforcers say in this lawsuit that Live Nation, listen, y'all, that Live Nation provides a software platform called Trade Desk that enables brokers to track and aggregate tickets purchased from multiple accounts. There's a software. Ooh, the way I'm so mad if these allegations are true. And again, if anyone's going to figure this out, it really is going to take the weight of the government. This is what you want government to focus on. Companies that are acting in bad faith and violating the law. If these allegations are true, that violates the rules set. Stop it. We need more live music. And if you kill live music, I don't know where we all end up. Look, things are hard enough. Let people go to the show. For fuck's sake. This makes me so mad. They go on to say that the suit alleges that a senior executive admitted in an internal email that Live Nation and Ticketmaster ignore ticket limit violations as a matter of policy. They got your emails? How interesting. They go on to say that the FTC sued several ticket brokers last month in Maryland. We haven't looked at that case yet, but let me know if we need a whole day and I'll just call it Fuck You Ticketmaster. I mean, I don't know if I can put that in the title, but you know what I mean? We'll just do a whole thing. So the FTC sued ticket brokers last month in Maryland federal court, accusing them of bypassing Ticketmaster limits to buy and resell hundreds of thousands of concert tickets, including for the Taylor Swift Eras Tour. Please let T-Swift be the one who brings this all down. The Eras Tour broke records, and if it also breaks Ticketmaster, I will be celebrating. 100% celebrating. Like if anyone can take down Ticketmaster, it's the Swifties. Like Taylor Swift and the Swifties, plus the Federal Trade Commission, we can do this. I'm here for it. That case, again, allegations. That case accuses the brokers of violating the Better Online Ticket Sale Act by deploying various tactics to evade security measures and volume limits for tickets and reselling them on the secondary market for profit, of course. The case filed Thursday, this is the one we're looking at, alleges that Ticketmaster violated the BOTS Act, BOTS Act, by allowing and encouraging brokers to evade security measures and ticket limits and resell the tickets. Quote, defendants blame a technological quote unquote arms race and ticket scalping for shutting fans out of artist-priced primary market tickets, but in reality, defendants' own conduct being Ticketmaster, Live Nation, defendants' own conduct gives purchasing consumers no choice but to resort to purchasing tickets at a steep markup in the resale market when defendants can collect another round of fees on the same tickets. The suit also accuses Ticketmaster of deceiving customers by advertising prices for tickets without fees and markups of up to 44% of the ticket face value and not showing the true cost of the ticket until the very end of the transaction. Let me know if that's happened to you in the comments. The enforcers say Ticketmaster continued this deceptive pricing practice after internal research showed customers were less likely to buy tickets when shown the true cost up front. Marketing tactic. And I wouldn't be surprised if they start also surge pricing using AI. The suit contends the misleading prices constitute a deceptive act or practice under Section 5 of the FTC Act, along with the company's claims about a number of tickets a single entity or person can purchase. The suit also contains claims for violation of various state consumer protection laws, which is why all the states are in there too. From this Law 360 article, representatives for Live Nation did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Here's how I know that the ticket prices just aren't real. I love living in Music City. I love that we can go to shows at a variety of venues. And there are venues around Nashville that do not use Ticketmaster. And tickets are regularly like $50 with like $3 or $4 of fees. So you can get tickets for $20 still at a lot of venues in Nashville. And so when you're looking at tickets, you can still find tickets for a reasonable price at these non-Ticketmaster venues. So I can't believe the cost of the concert is what those tickets are priced at. And for stadium tours, I would expect that ticket prices are a little bit higher, but not what they are at. Ticket prices reselling in the thousands to, well, with Taylor Swift, tens of thousands is wild. And I just have to wonder how many members of the legislature, state legislature, Senate, Congress, how many of them got fucked on Eras tickets for their kids? Because I feel like that's a lot of legislatures are about the right age. How many of them couldn't get T-Swift tickets? All right, Taylor Swift, let's do it. We're all cheering you on. Look, when Taylor Swift said, hey, I want this streaming rate for all artists, not just for me, Spotify capitulated. So did Apple Music. If anyone can get it done, it's the Swifties. And I wonder if the resounding disappointment of Swifties everywhere is actually going to make the legislature pay attention and make sure that live music is still accessible. I'm here for it. These are all allegations. However, Emily, you say that with a certain darkness to it. Yes, these are allegations. However, buying enough Ticketmaster tickets in my life, I have seen this change substantially as technology has changed and how difficult it is to purchase tickets. I'm not trying to buy Eras Tour tickets, but I've even seen a change in the concerts I go to year after year. I have seen it over and over again, where you get in to buy tickets. There is no way they are all that sold out. And all of a sudden they are on the resale market before anyone has even had a chance to buy the tickets. And I know that Ticketmaster is getting the fees on the original sale and on the resale. I'm here to tear it all down. Let venues go back to the free market and choose who they want to sell tickets with, instead of venues being completely handcuffed to Ticketmaster and not able to have a tour unless tickets are sold through Ticketmaster. Let the venues be independent again. Go for it. Because I bet in that free marketplace, Ticketmaster would lose because the fans could actually do something if there was choice in where to buy tickets from. I would pay more to not buy through Ticketmaster, honestly. Thank you to today's sponsor, Hungryroot. If you have not heard of Hungryroot yet, it is time to make not just meal prep, but also shopping more simple. Whether you just need groceries delivered to your home, or you need groceries plus a few meals that you can get ready, or you need snacks. And one of my favorites, y'all don't sleep on these. The rotten sour gummy crunchies are one of the things I order from Hungryroot in every single box. That and the protein pancakes keep me going through most trials. And because you can sort it so easily by exactly what your needs are, it takes all the executive functioning out of trying to figure out food, which is literally the bane of my existence. So if you're ready to eat well and you want the flexibility of sometimes getting groceries, sometimes getting meals, sometimes doing all of the above, it's time to give Hungryroot a try. So take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life. I generally select a free protein, but sometimes the desserts are just too irresistible. Go to hungryroot.com/lawnerd and use code lawnerd. That's hungryroot.com/lawnerd and use our code lawnerd to get 40% off your first box, plus one free item per box for life. You don't want to miss out at that deal at hungryroot.com/lawnerd. Let's get back to today's episode. So I didn't think that music and the types of crimes I often cover, because those are cases that are often televised, would be all in one case in such short order. But if you've heard of the David case, you've probably emailed me or DM'd me or ran into me in person and asked me about it. And if you haven't heard of it, I'm going to give you an overview. The investigation into this case is picking up steam. So you are going to see more legacy media and the type of media you might follow covering it. You are going to see more conversation about it. And then because the singer David was, we'll talk about that, on tour up until just a few days ago and had done a lot of streaming on Twitch, had done like Fortnite gameplay on Twitch, and has been incredibly online. You are also going to see, if you start looking at this story, people pulling up things from old streams that have since been deleted, and connecting the dots more on this case. And what I've seen is a lot of questions about why isn't there an arrest yet? And I hope that I can give some answers to those questions. There are some thoughts I might keep to myself because there's not yet an arrest in this case. And I would like to not overshare on things where I don't need to. So let's try to give an overview and then talk about why there hasn't been an arrest yet, though I think we might see that change. This case came first to the internet's attention, and I am just now seeing it in the last few days to pick up the attention of, your ABC, NBC, Los Angeles Times, etc. On Monday, September 8th, 2025, human remains were located inside of the front trunk of a Tesla that had been towed to a Hollywood tow yard. The car had been left in a residential neighborhood and was towed from there, and had been there for more than 5 days at the time it was towed. And anyone that lives in Los Angeles knows that parking on the road is always a mess. And so neighbors are going to be like, that car hasn't moved in a week. Goodbye. It is time to get rid of the abandoned car. And we will talk about neighbors that did speak to the media about that Tesla that had Texas license plates. Well, it came out pretty quickly that the Tesla was registered to this streamer, TikToker, Fortnite player, singer, David. And he has almost 4 million followers on TikTok, or had. I don't know if that is changing. He has done music for Fortnite and for Arcane, among other things. So has performed all over the place and was on tour until, as I said, just last week, when he stopped performing live very suddenly. I think you're going to see a connection to the dates in just a minute. So the vehicle was at impound. A call was made to law enforcement because it was apparent to impound that something was not correct with the car. I imagine that they were concerned about what they might find, and that's why they called law enforcement, and law enforcement recovered the human remains that were concealed inside of a bag, according to reports from ABC. On Wednesday, September 17th, which coincides with when the performances of the tour stopped, the victim, who was inside of the front of the Tesla, was identified as 15-year-old Celeste Rivas. Now, there is some discussion, and I think there will be ongoing discussion about whether or not she was 15 because her birthday is close in time to when the remains were recovered, but they have not set an amount of time that she had been deceased, though her remains did have significant decomposition. So there is some thought that she was likely 14 at the time that she was killed. I am saying she was killed. This has not been officially ruled a homicide. However, one does not put themselves in a frunk. So those are the words that I am going to use, though I will say no one has been arrested in this case. A determination of cause of death has not been made in this case. It has not been officially ruled a homicide yet because investigators are moving through their processes. The language I can use is a little bit more direct. So you will see discussion if you look at this case about whether or not she had turned 15 because her birthday is close in time to when she was discovered. I think she was probably 14 at the time that she passed. So on September 17th, that's last Wednesday, the LA County Medical Examiner identified the remains as belonging to Rivas, and they identified that on her right index finger, she had a tattoo that said shh, like S-H-H-H-H-H. Now, media articles have not pointed out that artist David has a matching tattoo, but the internet sure has pointed out that he also has a tattoo that says shh. Now, I should mention that David is 20 years old and his birthday is in March. So he was born March 28th, 2005. And just for clarity, her birthday is September 7th. She was born in 2010, which I know is wild to a lot of us. What you will see much discussed online is when Celeste and David first met and their connection. The media has not started talking about things like Discord messages and connection between them, but what the media has confirmed is that she had been reported missing by her family on 2 separate occasions. The first time she was reported missing on Valentine's Day, 2024. She was 13 years old at that time. And then she was subsequently reported missing on April 5th, 2024. And the internet believes, though it has not been reported, that during those times she was with David, as many have reported that she has been seen in streams with him, and her family members indicated that she had a boyfriend named David. Also on Wednesday, September 17th, after her remains were identified, LAPD executed a search warrant on the home where David was known to be staying on Doheny Drive, north of Sunset. The LA Times has reported, and other outlets have confirmed, that electronics, computers, and other items were seized during that evening search warrant. Why do I mention that it's an evening search warrant? Well, I suspect they were waiting for confirmation, and this is my supposition. This is not reporting, this is my commentary. I suspect that they were waiting for final confirmation from the medical examiner on the identification of the remains located in his car. Even if they thought they knew, they still need a confirmation from the medical examiner. Now, the medical examiner at this point has deferred the cause of death. More investigation is needed because of the state of decomposition of the remains. So that is why we have not seen this ruled as a manner of death or cause of death by the coroner. More is needed, and that can take some time. So Wednesday, the remains are identified, a search warrant is executed. All of the media outlets are reporting that David is cooperating with law enforcement. I'm not quite sure exactly how they mean that, but that is what's being reported. I'm going to leave it there. But we have also seen that numerous neighbors reported to ABC and other outlets that the Tesla that they saw on video, because there were helicopters showing the Tesla at the impound yard, had been parked at the house where the search warrant was conducted in the weeks prior to it being towed and to the search warrant. So the Tesla that has Texas license plates that's registered to David was also seen by neighbors parked at the home where these search warrants were executed. And one of the neighbors was quoted by ABC as stating, "It was a little weird to see a car that I haven't seen here for a long time. It had a big dent in it and had Texas plates. So it was a little odd." So it was not just because Los Angeles, like it wasn't just another Tesla. It had out-of-state plates and a dent. Then we get to Thursday, September 18th, last week. A spokesperson for Los Angeles PD Robbery Homicide Division confirmed that the search warrant served at that home was in connection to the investigation into the death of Celeste. Robbery Homicide is the kind of top investigative division at LAPD. So if we see an arrest made and if we see charges brought, that is all going to be within Los Angeles. Some of the difficulties that they are going to have is that an investigation needs to happen to determine roughly when and possibly where Rivas was in the last days of her life. And they will be using things like digital and internet footprint to try to find all of that information. So the investigation on digital devices, accounts, and then getting her accounts as best they can from her family to try to find her Discord account, any other social media accounts she had, then get subpoenas out to get the location tracking of those accounts can take some time. And while the internet has very well pointed out that David's music catalog involves his breakout song called, well, let's just pull it up together, shall we? And I am pulling up his YouTube music page. His breakout song was posted 3 years ago, Romantic Homicide. Some of his other popular songs are Here With Me, but a lot of his top videos are, well, different videos of Romantic Homicide. The very first songs that he posted to his YouTube channel were Runaway, You and I, Life's a Dream, I'm Lost, and others. So the internet has very much been looking into the lyrics of his song and is like, look, I'm done. Where's an arrest warrant? The thing is, you need to have probable cause beyond just what somebody might have posted on the internet to tie these things together. And digital footprints take time. Unfortunately, when someone is not missing, because at this point, though she had been reported missing, now that she has been identified as deceased, that can take some time to get all of the digital information that they are going to need to see when her digital footprint unfortunately stopped. And so there is a lot that's going to happen in this investigation in the digital case. And while they say he is being cooperative, I'm sure Robbery Homicide would like him to still think that he is helping them. So there are other thoughts I have about this investigation. I'm going to leave those go because I imagine he already has a fleet of lawyers at this point, and we've already seen a number of collabs that he had upcoming pull back while this investigation is ongoing. And as of September 19th, his tour in the US has been canceled. His Seattle, San Francisco, and LA dates last week that coincided with Wednesday, Thursday, Friday were canceled. And it looks like the European leg of his tour that was supposed to start in October has also been canceled. Also on social, I noticed that all the comments have been turned off on anything I could see that belonged to him on social. And it looks like he has been radio silent since the last show he performed in, but he had been at Boston Calling and other shows throughout the summer. So the internet will be digging into the digital footprint of what he has said when Celeste has been on streams, but law enforcement is going to have to base any decisions they make on more than that, including digital information that comes directly from the companies that have the location information and tracking and the rest of it. And those things can just take some time. So this is going to take time. I have seen a lot of people saying, that's it, I'm done. She's in his car. I've seen the lyrics of his music. I've seen that they're connected. The age gap on this relationship is deeply, deeply, deeply illegal and concerning. And they both have pointer finger tattoos that say, shh. So I think the internet is kind of done. Legal process is definitely not done. But we have seen that they've established a connection between the victim and the person who owned and had the car registered to them that she was located in. They have searched the home where he was staying, and we're already seeing him pull back from all public engagements. So will there be an arrest in this case? It's going to depend largely on digital evidence and then what others may know. And we will see if they will be coming forward. And by they, I don't know. Emily, who is they? I don't know. Whomever might have seen David and Celeste together, seen them engaging online together, Robbery Homicide Division is going to be investigating all of those leads. So if this does go forward to an arrest, it will be out of Los Angeles through LAPD Robbery Homicide. And I will be keeping an eye on it because I have been asked about it so much. But the few things we have seen connected are a start. But remember, once an arrest is made, once charges are filed, cases pick up steam pretty quickly. If law enforcement has an eye on David and knows where he is, he's a recognizable public figure, then taking their time to get all of the digital footprints they need, giving the coroner's office the time that they need to investigate is not a bad plan. Remember, we looked at the Adelson case and it took years and years for some of these arrests. And some of the strongest evidence against Donna Adelson about her state of mind was that one-way ticket and all the Google searches. And that just took time to put together. So we will see what happens from here. And I imagine that the amount of search warrants that have been written to social media companies are not insubstantial in this case. So I wouldn't expect to see the news drop in a day or 2 or 3 that there's been an arrest in this case, but I won't be surprised when we do see an arrest in this case down the road. So as to the David case, we will just have to wait and see, which is really frustrating in criminal cases, but I would rather a slow and thorough investigation than some of the cases we've seen. Speaking of which, we do need to talk about the Karen Read case. Thank you to today's sponsor, Shopify. You know I love bringing you sponsors that make things simple and, of course, things that I use. When we needed a merch store that eventually grew into the Law Nerd shop that you know and love, I immediately reached out to friends who were like, Shopify just makes it easy. So it does not surprise me that Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US. So from the Law Nerd shop to Mattel and Gymshark, there are all kinds of brands that use Shopify. And you can do what I did with their design studio. They have hundreds of ready-to-use templates that you could build a beautiful online store to match your style without needing to harken back to the MySpace days and learn to code. Plus, Shopify connects with all the social media platforms, so whether you are running ads or just connecting it to the YouTube shelf, you can use social media campaigns and connections to have your shop wherever your customers are. And Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping, which is complex and changes all the time. So it's time to turn your business idea into your store with Shopify by your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/lawnerd. Just head to shopify.com/lawnerd. And once you get your shop up and running, you're going to start hearing this. Let's get back to today's episode. We have talked a bit about the Karen Read civil case. Remember, Karen Read and The Waterfall and C.F. McCarthy's have been sued by John O'Keefe's family members and different combinations of family members. So it ends up being a complaint with quite a lot of different charges because it is, one plaintiff versus one defendant and so on and so forth. In Karen Read's motion to dismiss, she is looking at dismissing a substantial number of the claims against her. But in that motion to dismiss, C.F. McCarthy's and the Waterfall Grill have joined, and it would really take out most of the causes of action if granted, other than your wrongful death cause of action and some of the more basic causes of action. So that is what I expect that we will see them arguing in court this week. They're also going to do a status conference. Remember, this case was filed before the second trial, but it was stayed essentially until the criminal trial was done. And now we've seen that Alan Jackson, of course, one of Karen Read's criminal lawyers, and some members of his firm have become a part of the civil case. The civil case will definitely take a different pace than the criminal case, But last week, at the very end of last week, the court did grant a pool camera. So it looks like everyone won't be scrambling to try to find ways to not violate the court's rules on recording Zoom calls so that people can see what's happening in that case. So if that hearing goes forward and has anything more than them setting a next date, I will cover that on stream on Tuesday, and we can talk a bit more about the civil causes of action. But the outcome in the criminal case doesn't negate what could happen in a civil case. The thing that is going to be difficult in this case, different than others that we've seen, the O.J. Simpson case comes up quite a lot where he was acquitted but then found liable for wrongful death. The difference here is how many experts came forth in the Karen Read trial to say that John O'Keefe wasn't hit by a car. So we will see a more difficult case moving forward in the wrongful death and whether or not Karen Read was a substantial cause of the wrongful death. And then there are also cases against the two bars alleging that Karen Read was overserved. However, some of the testimony in trial, including that by Mrs. Kolakithis, was that they knew Karen Read and they didn't perceive her to be substantially intoxicated, if intoxicated at all, that they saw her drinking, but they didn't see her to be visibly under the influence. And if you're the bartender at C.F. McCarthy's or at the Waterfall and Karen Read's close friends don't perceive her to be intoxicated, how would a bartender know that she had been overserved? And when it came to the Waterfall, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that she purchased a drink based on the trial testimony at the Waterfall, with the high tops. I was in Massachusetts over the summer for an event with Mix 104, and they are such wonderful hosts, and I love getting to see Carson and Kennedy every time I can. But we went out to eat, and they were like, "Would you like a high top table?" I was like, "It's such a thing. Sure, I would like a high top." Like, it was a very specific, like, "Would you like a high top?" Yes. When in Rome, yes, I would like a high top. So there was definitely a distinction between the high tops and the non-high tops. Honestly, I often prefer not a high top unless I'm standing because I would just rather. But anyway, I digress. So if my memory serves from the trial, it was John O'Keefe that bought drinks at the Waterfall. I don't think Karen ever purchased a drink at the Waterfall. And the drinks at C.F. McCarthy's, there were drinks, it seemed, being purchased for Karen plus John O'Keefe and his friends. And so I don't know how you get to the allegations that the bar has any type of liability, and you will hear this referred to as dram shop liability. And we can law nerd another day into case law about dram shop, but think back to the Murdaugh case when we were talking about the death of Mallory Beach in the boating accident and whether or not those that sold alcohol to the underage Paul Murdaugh were responsible for the alcohol involved collision. So when we're looking at Massachusetts and we're looking at the allegations that Karen Read was overserved and that led to the death of John O'Keefe, whether or not the bars have any responsibility there for overserving Karen Read is going to be hard, I think, based on the trial testimony that those who knew her well did not perceive her to be overserved, including Jen McCabe, who I don't think by the time we saw her testified seemed like she was any great friend to Karen Read. But Jen said, "Look, I was sober and I didn't think that she was that intoxicated." And Mrs. Kolakithis said the exact same thing, that she was not drinking that night and she did not perceive Karen Read to be intoxicated. So I think the difficulty for the liability with the bar owners will be the testimony in trial. And then, of course, with all of the experts at trial, was Karen Read a cause of death of John O'Keefe? And while the standard is different, the testimony that came out in trial is going to be the testimony that you would see as a civil case goes forward. And I don't know where the parties could get to settlement on this case, because I don't think from the media interviews I've seen, from what we've seen at trial, from the statements made by lawyers, and this is all from things I've seen in the public, I don't see a scenario where Karen Read finds any way to settle this in saying that she had any responsibility in the death of John O'Keefe. And I just don't see the O'Keefe family saying we're going to just walk away from this. I don't see how these parties resolve this case short of another jury trial. And so we are in the very beginning of the very long process of civil litigation, but the court is allowing cameras into the courtroom, and keeping our eye on what's going on in Massachusetts was never my intent to just like, hey, we just cover Massachusetts now, but there is so much that is happening in Massachusetts that it keeps pulling our attention back. And in the weeks to come, we will be talking more about the Brian Walsh case and whether or not it will be going to trial in October. We will see. But as cases get closer to trial, sometimes they get a little bit derailed. And so we're going to keep an eye on that one, and we'll be talking about that in the weeks to come. We have much to cover in the weeks to come, but as a wrap on today's episode, I promised you we would talk about Officer, never call her Deaver, I suppose. We have to talk about it. I got asked a lot about this on live stream last week. I had not seen the news. I had heard the rumors, but I had not seen the timeline, screenshots, receipts, fucking everything to just merge housewife references. I am so behind on all of my reality TV. I don't know what to do with myself. I've seen all of the concerts, and I am so far down a rabbit hole on the lore of the MCR Long Live the Black Parade tour, and really hoping that, well, the day this episode drops, we learn that there will be more US dates in the summertime of 2026. Nashville? Are we coming to Nashville? That I have not reset to start catching back up on TV yet, because the performance art that is the MCR show, I could do an entire multi-part podcast on, but we'll save that for members only live, because some of you are like, Emily, what? And I'm like, but there's a whole storyline, and they made their whole language and with its own alphabet, and it's Star Wars meets like emo meets performance art meets like 1984. I'm obsessed. So I need Ticketmaster to fuck off before tickets go on sale for this tour again. Emily, what about Deaver? I got you. This is coming from Ted Daniel reporting on the, formerly known as Twitter, kind of like former Trooper Proctor, and now former Officer Dever, because though I had seen rumblings about this, it's always helpful to have just a couple more sources. And Ted Daniel posted on September 12th, 2025, that Boston police told him that Officer Kelly Dever, who testified in the Karen Read trial, has resigned. On today's date, September 12th, 2025, a personnel order was released stating, quote, "The resignation of police officer Kelly Dever," and they list her ID number, "assigned to the leave of absence station," which we had heard that she had taken a leave of absence, "after being presented is hereby effective September 1st. So after being on a leave of absence, Officer Dever is no longer an officer. Am I surprised at all? No, because when she testified on the stand and said, "I created a false memory," I think what I shared on stream was she can not really work as a police officer any longer. I don't know what division she would work in. She can't go take reports. She can't testify in trial. Every single thing she does as a law enforcement officer from this testimony forward will be called into question, because she said, "I created a false memory." Her testimony ended her career. So the way that she explained that she just made things up in her mind, and if people don't believe that she made things up in her mind, then they believe that the other side of that coin is, well, she saw what she saw and she refuses to testify to it truthfully. Either way, she can't testify again. And if you can't testify in court as a trustworthy witness, there are very few positions within law enforcement that you're going to be able to work. And she does not have the seniority and the experience to work in another avenue of the police department where you would never be called upon to testify, because no matter what you do, there's always some possibility you'll be called upon to testify. So even at a more desk job, what are you going to do? Check in evidence? You still might have to go testify, especially in Massachusetts. People want to know when evidence got logged in. Where can you go within Boston PD? Not senior enough to do training. So after that testimony, it was pretty clear that her career was cooked. So where she goes from there, I don't know. But not into a field where she needs to testify in court. I don't know. Concert security, do they have to testify? I don't know. Maybe that's an option. But the way she testified was always going to be a career-ending event. It was just a matter of how that ended. And I'm curious if behind the scenes there were discussions about whether or not they would take action against her, if they would investigate her, or if they would let her choose to resign. I'm a little curious. I don't know if we'll ever know all of it, but am I surprised by this outcome? Absolutely not. I think her path forward after how public that testimony was is probably going to be a difficult one. Who knows? Maybe she's a great photographer or something. But law enforcement is not going to be it. So with that, thank you for being back for another episode of The Emily Show. It's great to see you. If you pop over to the live stream, you'll hear me talking on and off about traveling, to spend some time with the amazing Sir Mix-a-Lot, to go to Made on YouTube, everything that I took away from that event, and of course to go see MCR, which basically is going to just crop up in everything that we talk about from now on with my teen, because it was one of those highlight moments when you get to go to the show. Emily, are you still salty about all the fees? Yeah. If somebody sues Ticketmaster, we're going to talk about it. I've been personally victimized by Ticketmaster fees. I'm more mad at Ticketmaster than Regina George, I got to be honest. It's caused much more damage to my financial stability. So with all of that, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a law nerd. I will see you back on live stream this week. Even though the fall is busy with a senior in high school, it is not as busy as the last few weeks of travel have been. So thank you all for your, Emily, no, go to the show. Your encouragement and the fact that this community always tries to find balance for ourselves is incredibly encouraging. It's always good to see you guys IRL. So thank you for always saying hello when I see you out and about. And we're going to be on stream more because, well, I don't have as much travel coming up. So I'm happy to be with you. And let me know down below what you think of all these cases. Remember, when there is no arrest, it means that no one has been accused of anything yet. I know that's hard in the David case, but no one has been accused of anything yet. A case is being built. So I'm keeping that in mind as I am watching the stories come out. We will see what unfolds next, because that case, every single day, there is more information. And hopefully now you have a bit of a timeline and a background to what everybody's talking about when this eventually comes across your feeds. With that, I will see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to get the Law Nerd app. Thank you so much for being a Law Nerd. Cheers. I'll see you in chat. Thanks for joining me. If you enjoyed this episode and don't want to miss updates on your favorite cases, you're going to need the Law Nerd app at lawnerdapp.com. That way you can stay in the loop on the cases that matter most to you, and you never know when you're going to catch feelings for a new case. So make sure you get it for free on iOS and Android. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being a Law Nerd.